Chapter 1. The Art of Deception. The state was to quiet. Emma Blake's heels clicked against the marble floor of Logan Carter's private art gallery, each echo a reminder that she was deep in enemy territory. Oil paintings loomed over her like silent witnesses, stolen masterpieces, each with a blood-stained past. She tried not to flinch as a cold draft brushed her neck. For all its grandeur, the Carter estate felt less like a home and more like a lair. She'd been here exactly 17 minutes. Already, she'd counted 3 hidden cameras, 2 men watching her from the upper mezzanine, and 1 guard dog that hadn't barked, just stared. Still, she kept her expression calm, her voice collected, her credentials flawless, but inside, her heart thundered against her ribs like a trapped bird. She wasn't just cataloguing stolen art. She was cataloguing a killer's secrets. Then he appeared, Logan Carter, sharp suit, cold eyes, scar on his jaw that hadn't quite healed. He didn't walk, he prowled, like he owned the room, the estate, the world. Emma had seen his photo in FBI files, but nothing had prepared her for the sheer force of his presence. "You must be Miss Blake," he said, voice like dark velvet with a serrated edge. "They tell me you're the best at what you do." Emma smiled, carefully measured. "I am, and you're a man who appreciates rare finds." Their eyes locked, an unspoken tension humming between them. She could feel it, this dangerous magnetic pull. It was intoxicating and terrifying. What neither of them knew was that Marcus Vance, Logan's right-hand man, had already flagged her background check. There was a discrepancy in her credentials, minor, but enough to raise eyebrows. While Logan charmed Emma with wine and polite menace, Marcus slipped away to make a call. "Run a full trace on Emma Blake," he ordered. "Something about her doesn't sit right." In the basement, surveillance screens flickered as facial recognition scanned her features against dozens of databases. A red light blinked. Match found. Back in the gallery, Logan handed Emma a glass of wine. "To new partnerships," he said. She accepted with a smile, even as her fingertips trembled, because she knew if her real identity was uncovered, she wouldn't be walking out of this estate alive. Chapter 2. Brothers' blood. A rain came down in sheets, tapping against the windows of Logan Carter's private study like impatient fingers. He stood by the fireplace, a half-empty glass of whiskey in hand, staring into the flames. They didn't warm him. They never did. Across the room, a locked drawer in the antique desk called to him. He knew what was inside the autopsy report. Crime scene photos, a bullet casing wrapped in tissue, and the blood-stained handkerchief his younger brother Danny had been holding when they found him. 3 years had passed, but Danny's scream still echoed in Logan's mind. It was Richard Blake. That's what everyone said. Blake's crew had been seen in the neighborhood. One of his cars was caught on CCTV 3 blocks away. And weeks before, Danny had beaten one of Blake's men into a coma over a disputed weapons drop. Motive, opportunity, blood. Case closed. But lately, Logan had started to wonder. Earlier that day, Marcus Vance had handed him a folder. "We've been following some chatter from inside Blake's crew," he said. "Something doesn't add up." Inside the folder were transcripts from a wiretap, voices distorted, names redacted, but the implication clear. Blake's crew hadn't ordered Danny's hit. Someone inside Carter territory had tipped them off about his location. Someone who wanted Danny dead. Logan's jaw tightened. He had buried his brother with vengeance in his veins. But if Blake hadn't pulled the trigger, who had? He didn't want to believe it. But there were names that suddenly didn't feel so loyal. Men he'd trusted 4 years, now suspects in his mind. And somewhere, in the center of it all, was Emma. She moved through the estate like a ghost with secrets, her presence stirring up old shadows. Was it coincidence that she'd shown up now, just as new truths were surfacing? Or had her arrival been timed to keep him from digging deeper? That night, Logan returned to the gallery. Emma was alone, cataloguing a sculpture of 2 entwined lovers, her fingers brushing the marble as if reading it like Braille. "Didn't think you were the sentimental type," he said. She turned, slightly startled. "Some things surprise you." His gaze lingered. "Yes, they do." And as he watched her walk away, he wondered, Was she just another enemy in disguise, or the only person who could lead him to the truth? Chapter 3. The Spy in the Shadows. In a dimly lit surveillance van parked 2 blocks from the Carter estate, Agent Claire Monroe sipped her 3rd cup of lukewarm coffee and watched Logan Carter's life unfold in real time. Cameras hidden in street lamps, hacked phone lines, satellite footage. The FBI had eyes everywhere, and Claire was in charge of it all. To the Bureau. This wasn't just another Mafia case, it was the opportunity of a decade. If they could bring down both the Carter and Blake families, the East Coast power vacuum would destabilize for good. But there was a problem. The woman in the middle of it all, Emma Blake. Claire leaned forward, narrowing her eyes as Emma appeared on a grainy feed. She was walking alongside Logan in the estate's garden, laughing at something he said. Too close, too comfortable, too natural. She's in deep, Claire muttered. Maybe too deep. Her partner, a young analyst named Ryder, looked over. You think she's compromised? Claire didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pulled up Emma's file. Daughter of Richard Blake, disappeared for 6 years, remerged with a new name and a spotless identity. The Bureau had considered recruiting Emma, once turn her against her father, use her pain and estrangement as leverage, but she'd vanished before they could make contact. And now she was in Logan Carter's house, under his nose, and possibly in his bed. Monitor every interaction, Claire ordered. I want timestamps, transcriptions, tone analysis. If she's flipped, we'll know it. But even as she said it, Claire felt a knot twist in her gut. She had seen this before. Undercover agents, losing themselves in their roles, blurring the line between mission and emotion. Emma might have started with a plan, but Logan Carter was magnetic, powerful, and dangerously intelligent. If he suspected her identity, he wouldn't kill her right away. He'd use her. And if she was still loyal to her father, Claire clenched her jaw. Then she was a ticking time bomb, one that could cost the FBI its entire operation. Back at the Carter estate, Emma stood on the estate balcony, staring out into the woods. A shadow moved far in the distance, too far for the guards to notice, but not for her. She knew someone was watching. She didn't know who yet, but she could feel it. And deep inside the surveillance van, Claire whispered, "Don't make me choose between you and this mission, Emma, because I will." Chapter 4. A dangerous proposal. The dining room at Carter Estate shimmered with low golden light, candles flickering against crystal glass and fine china. Emma Blake sat across from Logan Carter at a long oak table, the air between them thick with unspoken truths. She wore black. He liked her in black. "You're not eating," Logan noted, swirling his wine. Emma forced a smile. "Just not hungry." In truth, her nerves were coiled tight. Every day she stayed, she sank deeper into a web of power, charm, and possessive intensity. Logan was intoxicating danger wrapped in silk, but she couldn't forget who he was, or what he had done, what she might have to do. The silence stretched. Then Logan stood, walked around the table, and offered her his hand. "Come with me," he said. She followed him through a private corridor she hadn't explored before. At the end was a double-door chamber, lit by a massive fireplace. The room smelled like cedarwood and cold. A velvet-lined box rested on the table. He opened it without ceremony. A ring, simple, silver, dark red stone pulsing like a drop of blood in its center. Emma froze. "Logan, it's not what you think," he said, watching her carefully. "This isn't a proposal in the way you expect. It's a vow. A deal." She blinked, heart pounding. "A deal. You stay," he said quietly. "You give up this game you're playing. I know you're hiding something, Emma. I haven't pushed because I'm not ready to break what we have. But this," he gestured to the ring, "this is me offering you protection, permanence, power." Her voice came out hoarse. "Or control." He smiled slightly. "A little of both." Her instincts screamed to run, but her eyes dropped to the ring, and in that moment, she felt the danger of her own heart. Part of her wanted to say yes, not for the power, not for the protection, for him. "I need time," she said finally. Logan nodded. "Take all the time you need, But understand something, Emma. He stepped closer, voice dropping low. If you betray me, I'll know, and I won't be merciful. He left her alone in the firelight, the velvet box still open, the ring glowing like a promise, or a threat. Upstairs, Marcus Vance stood in the shadows, having heard the entire exchange through a hidden mic. He turned to the guard beside him, put eyes on her 24/7. If she says yes, I want to know why. And if she says no, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Chapter 5. The Mistress and the Molybdeneth, the golden facade of the Carter Empire. Cracks were farming, and none more dangerous than the ones closest to Logan's throne. Trevor Holt had been Logan Carter's enforcer for nearly a decade, loyal, cold-blooded, and efficient. Or so Logan thought. But tonight, Holt wasn't standing guard or running logistics. He was in bed with Sabrina Miles, Logan's former lover. Her lipstick was still smudged when she pulled away and whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Trevor smirked. "You called me." She lit a cigarette with a shaky hand. "You think sleeping with me gets you off Logan's radar?" He leaned in, voice low. "I'm not the one being watched, Sabrina." Their affair wasn't just lust, it was leverage. Sabrina had once been Logan's confidant. She knew the code to his secure line, where he kept his real ledgers, even the name of the man who laundered his offshore accounts. And Trevor had been collecting information from her for months. But he wasn't working for Richard Blake. He was working for himself. Trevor had struck a deal with an unknown, be someone who wanted to dismantle both the Blake and Carter families from the inside. A ghost. No name, no face, only money, and instructions. In exchange for Sabrina's intel, Trevor was promised a clean slate, a new life, and the one thing men like him never earned, freedom. Back at the Carter estate, Logan sat in the dim security room, staring at a grainy still frame from a hidden hallway camera. Two figures, one of them clearly Sabrina, the other Trevor Holt. Marcus Vance stood behind him, arms crossed. "I thought Trevor was loyal," Logan muttered. Marcus's voice was cold. "That's what Danny said before he died." The words hit harder than Logan expected. If Trevor had been involved in Danny's murder, if Sabrina had helped, he slammed his fist down on the table. "Find out everything. Everyone they've spoken to. Every call. Every movement. I want answers." In another wing of the house, Emma was quietly scrolling through old encrypted messages from her father. A new one had just arrived. "You're running out of time. Get what we need, or we burn it all." She deleted it, her hands trembling. What she didn't know was that her room had just been bugged by Marcus's team, and her next move would decide who died first. Chapter 6. Blood ties revealed. Emma sat alone in the estate library. Buried in the Carter family archives, a collection of dusty leather-bound journals, confidential ledgers, and family records that hadn't been touched in decades. It had started as a distraction, a way to keep her mind from spiraling after the ring, the proposal, the surveillance she could feel but not see. But what she found changed everything. Tucked inside a dated account ledger was a folded letter, faded paper, elegant, urgent handwriting. She read the name twice before believing it. "To Richard, I'm sorry. I couldn't tell you about the child. It would have destroyed everything. If you ever find this, her name is Emma." Her heart slammed against her ribs. The signature, Elaine Carter, Logan's mother. Emma's breathing faltered. The room began to spin. She grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself as the horror set in. Elaine Carter had written to Richard Blake and had confessed to having a child. Emma. "No, no, no," she whispered. "This can't be real." But it was. She scanned the dates, tracing timelines like they were landmines. The affair, quiet, carefully hidden, had overlapped with her birth. And all this time, she had believed she was simply Blake's estranged daughter. Now, the possibility loomed like a guillotine. She and Logan Carter could be half-siblings. Outside the library, Marcus Vance was watching. He had planted the forged letter hours earlier. And now, through the hidden camera behind the bookshelf, he saw it was working. His plan wasn't to kill Emma. It was to destroy her. He knew Logan's weakness wasn't greed or power. It was love. And if Marcus could turn that love into something monstrous, unthinkable, Logan would implode. Emma stumbled out of the library in a daze, nearly running into Logan in the hallway. He caught her by the arms, concern flickering in his eyes. "Emma, what's wrong?" She opened her mouth to speak, but couldn't, not yet, not until she knew the truth. "I need air," she said. Brushing past him. Logan watched her go, confusion tightening in his chest. And behind the curtain, Marcus whispered into his earpiece. The fuse is lit. Chapter 7. The fire at Carter Estate's sky was dark, but the Carter estate glowed, a massive, torch-lit gala in full swing. Logan had thrown the party to mark the merging of two major arms shipments. But beneath the glamour, he was a man unraveling. Emma hadn't been herself 4 days. She barely looked him in the eye. Spent hours locked in the library or wandering the estate like a ghost. When he reached for her, she flinched. And worse, she lied. He could feel it. Logan stood at the balcony, glass of bourbon in hand, watching the guests laugh and clink glasses in the courtyard below. Next to him, Marcus Vance lit a cigar. "She's hiding something," Marcus said. "I know." Marcus exhaled smoke. "You sure she's not like her father?" Logan didn't answer. He couldn't, because for the first time, he wasn't sure. Downstairs, Emma moved through the crowd, the forged letter still burning a hole in her coat pocket. She hadn't told Logan. Not yet. Not until she could confirm the truth. She'd scheduled a secret DNA test that morning. Results would be in within 48 hours. But Marcus had planted the letter for one reason, to destabilize her. And it was working. She felt watched. Every glance lingered too long. Every laugh sounded like a warning. That's when she noticed it. A man in a waiter's uniform, too muscular, too alert, too wrong. He wasn't on the estate staff. She turned to follow, but he vanished into the hallway leading toward Logan's office. Her instincts screamed. She moved quickly but silently, weaving through back corridors until she caught a whiff of something strange. Gasoline. Upstairs, Logan heard the first scream burst as the lights flickered, then the smoke alarms. He raced through the hallway. Marcus closed behind. "Basement," Logan barked. "Check the vault." Flames roared to life on the west wing near Emma's room. Logan didn't hesitate. He sprinted straight through the smoke, heart hammering in his chest. "Emma." No response. "Emma." He found her near the stairs, coughing violently, eyes red and watering. Without a word, he scooped her up and carried her out through the servants' exit as the ceiling above cracked and groaned. Moments from collapse. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Emma clung to him, trembling not just from the fire, but from the weight of everything she couldn't say. And Marcus, watching from the shadows, whispered to himself, "Now let's see how much she really trusts her." Boss. Later, a report confirmed what Emma already suspected. The fire was no accident. The accelerant was traced, the security footage wiped clean, and the only fingerprint found on the gas canister. Hers. Chapter 8. The truth serum. Gambith walls of the interrogation room were soundproof, stark, cold. It wasn't one of Logan's usual places. This was personal. A hidden chamber beneath the Carter estate, used only when trust was broken. Emma sat in the center, wrists unbound, but body trembling. Not from fear, from rage, from betrayal. "I told you I didn't start that fire," she said, voice hollow. "You know I didn't." Logan stood behind the one-way mirror, jaw clenched. The fingerprint, the missing footage, the timing, the letter she still hadn't mentioned. All signs pointed to her. But he didn't want to believe it. Not completely. That's why Marcus had suggested the next step, truth serum. A calculated dose, nothing harmful, just enough to forge resistance and open locked doors in the mind. "She either confirm your fears," Marcus said, "or clear them. Either way, we stop bleeding trust." Emma had agreed to it, shocking them both. She didn't flinch when the needle entered her arm. If anything, she looked relieved, like she wanted the truth to come out, even if it destroyed her. 20 minutes later, Logan entered the room. She looked up at him through glassy eyes. the edges of her consciousness already slipping. "Emma," he said softly, pulling a chair close. "Just talk to me." She blinked slowly. "You don't trust me. Help me," he said. "Tell me the truth." Her lips parted. "I didn't start the fire. Do you work for your father?" Silence. Then, "I work for myself." Logan's brows furrowed. "What does that mean?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I want him gone. I want you gone. I want everything gone. You all took everything from me." Logan froze. "What did we take?" She swallowed hard. "My life, my family, my choices. All I ever wanted was out. But all I ever do is drown in everyone else's blood." He leaned in. "Emma, what aren't you telling me?" Her eyes drifted. "The letter." Logan's pulse jumped. "What letter?" "My mother. Your mother. Someone lied." Her head lolled to the side. "Maybe we're not enemies. Maybe we're not even lovers." She looked straight at him then, pupils dilated. "Maybe we're family." Upstairs, Marcus watched the feed with a satisfied smirk. "She confessed," he said. "It's done." But Logan didn't leave the room. Instead, he stared at Emma, with a storm behind his eyes, equal parts horror, heartbreak, and something else Colin resolved. Because now he knew someone had planted that doubt in her mind. Someone was manipulating both of them. And he was going to find out who, even if he had to burn the whole world down to do it. Chapter 9. The Blake ultimatum. She woke up in darkness. Emma's head throbbed. Her hands were bound. The metallic taste of blood coated her tongue. For a moment, she couldn't tell if this was another dream twisted by drugs and guilt. But then the cold hit her bones. Concrete floor. Damp air. A faint echo of footsteps. Then his voice. "Richard Blake. You look just like your mother when you're angry," he said. Stepping out of the shadows, Emma stiffened. "You shouldn't be here." He smiled with quiet venom. "Sweetheart, you're the one who came into my world, pretending to be neutral, pretending to be strong. But look at you now." He walked around her like a predator circling prey. "Logan Carter ruined your life, took your childhood, took your mother, lied to you, and now you love him." He crouched in front of her, voice turning sharp. "Or did you forget who put a bullet in your uncle's head?" "I didn't forget," Emma hissed. "I just realized revenge doesn't heal anything." Richard's eyes darkened. "Maybe not, but it gives you clarity. And now you get a choice." He stood, pulled a pistol from his coat, and placed it on a small metal table. Next to it, a cell phone and a grainy photo of Emma's mother, bruised, gagged, and clearly terrified. "You want her back," he said coldly. "Then kill him." Emma's breath caught. "What? Logan Carter, your lover, your captor, your enemy. Put a bullet in his chest, deliver the proof, and your mother walks free. Walk away from all of this. And if I refuse?" Richard leaned in, his voice ice cold. "Then I send her back in pieces. And I put a bullet in you for wasting my time." Meanwhile, Logan tore through his network. Emma had vanished. Surveillance was dead. Her room cleaned out. No signs of struggle. No notes. No digital trace. Not even Marcus could find her. And something in Logan snapped. "She wouldn't run," he told Marcus. "Not like this. Not unless someone took her." Marcus looked genuinely uneasy for the first time. "You think Blake has her?" "I know he does." Logan turned to the screen showing a location ping. His last resort, a GPS tracker buried in the lining of the ring he'd given her. The signal was weak, intermittent, but it was moving toward the Hudson docks. Back in the warehouse, Emma stared at the gun. Her hands were free now. She could walk out, take the weapon, and end this. Kill Logan, save her mother, or she could do what no one expected. Turn on them all. By nightfall, Logan had eyes on the warehouse. Gun drawn, fury in his veins. He kicked down the door, expecting bullets, but instead, he found Emma, standing in the center, holding the gun, pointed directly at him. "Emma," he said, voice hoarse. "Don't." She said nothing. Behind her, Richard stepped into view smiling. "Time's up," he said. And Emma pulled the trigger. Click. Empty chamber. Richard's face paled. Emma turned the gun on him and fired again, this time. Loaded. He dropped. Logan stood frozen. breathing hard, his heart pounding as Emma turned back to him. "I told you," she whispered, shaking. "I work for myself." And then, before he could say a word, she collapsed into his arms. Chapter 10. The wedding that wasn't Carter Estate had never looked more beautiful. Ivory silk draped the banisters. Roses deep crimson and cream lined the walkway. Candles flickered in ornate glass holders. Guests from both the Carter and Blake factions filled the hall, uneasy but civil, dressed in black tie formality like actors in a play none of them trusted. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a truce, a statement, a ceasefire sealed in diamonds and blood. At the center of it all stood Emma, dressed in a sleek, elegant white gown, her expression unreadable. On her left hand, the ruby ring shimmered, not an engagement ring, not even a symbol of love, a warning. Behind her, Logan waited at the altar, steel in his posture, but his eyes fixed solely on her like she was the only truth left in a world that had lied to him from birth. They had survived the fire, the betrayal, Richard Blake's final ultimatum. But they hadn't won, not yet. Moments before the ceremony, Marcus Vance had vanished, disappeared without a word. Logan had asked one of his men to track him down. 10 minutes later, the man was found unconscious in the wine cellar, pulse weak, shot in the leg. "Marcus isn't who you think," he gasped. "He's been pulling strings on both sides since the beginning." Emma stepped down the aisle, heart pounding. She saw the guards stiffen. One of the guests shifted in their seat. Something was wrong. Too many eyes watching, too many exits blocked, and no sign of Marcus. As she reached Logan, he took her hand and leaned in. "Smile," he whispered. "Someone's aiming for your head." Emma didn't blink. "Let them try." The officiant began to speak, but the words were a blur. Logan scanned the crowd, muscles coiled. Every second dragged like a blade across skin. And then a gunshot. Screams. Chaos erupted. Emma dropped to the floor, dragging Logan with her as 2 more shots rang out. A guest collapsed. A bodyguard returned fire. Panic spread like wildfire through the hall. From the second-level balcony, Marcus Vance emerged, gun in hand, a savage grin across his face. "I built this empire," he shouted, "and now I'll burn it down." The truth hit like thunder. Marcus had orchestrated Danny's death. Fed intel to both sides, pitted Logan and Richard against each other while he fed their secrets to anonymous bias. Even the forged letter, the blood tie between Emma and Logan, his creation. He didn't want peace, he wanted power. Emma pulled a hidden pistol from her guard to her final contingency and fired. Marcus spun, fell, and vanished over the railing. The room went silent. Only the crackling of fire from the shattered candelabras filled the space. Hours later, the bodies were cleared, the estate emptied. Logan and Emma stood alone in the ruins of their wedding. "You still want this?" she asked him softly. He looked at her, the blood on her dress, the gun still clutched in her hand, the fire in her eyes. "Yes," he said. "But not like this," she nodded. "Then let's start over." He took her hand, and for the first time, not as enemies, not as pawns, not even as lovers, but as survivors.